Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we'd like to wish you all a very happy St. Patrick's Day coming up. I hope you're having a wonderful time and enjoying this time of year. And we have a very special ranking episode for you today. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Terry's here.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well.
Thank you. I was telling off air that I could try like an Irish accent, but it would only offend all involved. So we
We
don't want to
can't
do
win
that.
here, no.
But what we are talking about today is Hallmark Irish movies. So very fun. We kind of have often joke that you're only allowed to fall in love in Hallmark movies if you're in Ireland or Italy. And
Yes.
today is proof of the Ireland part of it.
Proof.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's
Hmm.
probably a dozen more. I think there's more Italy movies than there are Irish movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially recently. We did go all the way back to some Hall of Fames for our
We
list.
did. That's true.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah.
And we have a mixture of dramas and rom-coms for
And
this
there's
list.
also, right, and there's also a lot of films shot in Ireland pretending to be something else. So we didn't include
Oh,
those.
true, true. I mean, you're pretty swept away by most of these Irish films. You're a big fan.
Well, I guess so. I mean, I think a majority of them are pretty tolerable. Like they're pretty fun
Hmm.
to watch in the moment.
Yeah.
It's only two that I really dislike, like on my list that I don't think I would
Hmm.
watch again. But
Yeah.
some of these are just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you need to watch them more than once because you won't remember them because
Hmm.
they're fine, but they're a little forgettable.
It's true. I have two that I really disliked. I have three or four that are just kind of boring to me, but
Right?
not like
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
And then I have some that I did enjoy.
Yeah. Same.
So
Yeah.
there we go. And we'll have the short list available to anybody that's interested. If you want to make your own ranking, if you want to share with us in the comments, if you want to make a video or a blog post or whatever, just tag us. We'd love to hear what your ranking is. And of course, we will share our patrons' thoughts as at the end. And so if you want to participate in these rankings and even have your ranking list ranked by us, your list of your favorites. That's a new perk available to patrons. Check out the Patreon. We sure would be grateful. And it's the best way that you can support us. And we technically have one that was technically a Lifetime movie in this group, but it feels like a Hallmark movie. So I just wanted to count
It
it for
totally
fun.
could have been.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's dive in. Let's get started. What do you have at number 12?
I have Chasing Leprechauns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I forgot to put the years on these movies. So when I was doing my notes, I think
Yeah.
this is early 2000s.
2012.
2012. Okay,
12,
so it's
yeah.
not yeah, so this is back in the heyday of when the Hallmark Channel first started.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, so it stars Adrian Pastar and Amy Huberman, and oh, man, I do not like this movie. I wish it was wackier. Like just reading the
Yeah.
synopsis, he's traveling to Ireland because he has to close this business deal on a land, but he has to talk to the leprechaun whisperer to clear the land of leprechauns, and it's a whole thing. And they play it so seriously. And I'm supposed to buy this couple. He's like a know-nothing character, and for a good, at least I found there's so much of a shrew in
Mm.
this. I couldn't buy their romance. I don't think there's real chemistry. It's like, oh, I gotta be a part of this town to win over this lady for the why? Just
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why did I almost wish like where are the leprechauns? Where can't we see the leprechauns wrecking shop? Like making, oh, you want to build on my land? I don't think so. Like it could have been so much wackier. And there's like little nods to that. I say I will laugh though when that guy got hit by the truck this movie, there's a guy, the mustache
Yeah.
twirling villain who gets hit by a truck, and I did laugh at that because I thought that
Yeah.
was the funniest part of the movie, but it did nothing for me.
Yeah.
You
Like I'm
did.
pretty sure that we have the same 12 and 11. We just have them swapped. So I just have
Yes, yeah,
11 just because I would prefer to watch the rom-com over the
right, yeah,
drama. The failed rom I would pick the failed rom-com over the failed drama, so it gets the
Totally.
slight edge.
Yeah.
But yeah, this it was disappointing because I had heard about
Yeah.
this movie, but I had never seen it, and I thought, oh, maybe
This
that'll
is the
be one
first
of
one.
those
Yeah.
kind of hidden gems that ends up actually being really fun.
I've never seen it
And
either. Yeah.
yeah, it just wasn't. It was boring.
It's
And
boring. Yeah.
yeah, and a guy coming to Ireland to approve the leprechaun free land that should be fun.
It should be fun. There should be leprechauns, some kind of more
Whimsy.
magic to it. Like instead of like nods or this could have been a coincidence. Like it should have
Yeah.
been like really magical stuff happening. Like
Instead
have
of
fun with it.
yeah,
If
it
you're
was
gonna
just like
play with the legends of this country or like their superstitions or whatever, then play with it, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, have some whimsy, have some chemistry. Just I don't know, just it was
Yeah,
just kind of boring.
I
And
know. Feel bad.
I did though really smile when we see Jack Rayner have a
Oh,
small role
that's right. Yeah.
in this film
Almost didn't
because
recognize him until you mentioned it. I was like, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, because everyone knows how much I love Sing Street. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies, and so who knew? I had no idea that Jack Rayner was in a Hallmark movie, but he was.
Who
He was
knows?
in this.
It's high on
So
my list now.
yeah, gave it a bump, right? Yeah, it was too bad. I really was hoping, oh, this is going to be like a hidden gem,
Yeah,
something,
no.
but it wasn't. So too bad. In general, in those early years, the Christmas movies in general were way better than the non-Christmas
Yes.
movies for
Yeah,
Hallmark. Yeah,
that's
there's a few
true.
exceptions like How to Fall in Love or something like that, Country Wedding. There's a few, but for the most part, there was
They
a
were still
big
learning.
divide.
They're still learning curbs and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have, and I'm pretty sure it's your number 11. I have The Seventh Stream at number 12.
Yes, that is, yeah.
Yeah.
A
So,
classic for Hall of Fame, I think.
yes. So, this is a
Oy.
Hall of Fame. It's a Selkie story about this woman who is the Selkie tradition in Ireland is the if people have seen like The Secret of Ronan-ish, that there's people that are part seal, part human. There's also really great movie animated film called Song of the Sea,
Yeah.
which I love. It's one of my favorites. So there's lots of good movies about the Selkies, but this just wasn't one of them. The main problem there were two problems that I had with this movie. First, I found both of the men like very possessive of her in like in like her kind of creepy ways. And
Totally.
they were both equally possessive, so I like didn't like either of them, and I there was no chemistry between
None.
the two lead characters, and the lead guy looked so much older than her that it was just kind of awkward. And like it's fine if there's an age difference is fine, but I feel like it should be sort of addressed or it should be part of the plot or something. I don't know. It would
Totally.
just affect chemistry.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, and that would have been fine if I had liked, if I'd liked them and I liked but it was just weird how they were kind of ordering her around and felt like they could tell her what to do and everything. It was very strange.
Yeah, and like I first watched this movie. I had never seen this movie before, but I first watched this when we were doing the Hall of Fame ranking because I was
Mm.
like, this sounds very interesting. It's a period piece. This is probably my jam. It was not. I feel like they never really listened to anything that she wanted.
No.
She didn't want to be with the first dude because he's holding on for her for luck. He's holding on to her coat, right? Or that
Hmm.
she sheds, her seal coat, whatever it is.
Right.
And then when she does get together with this guy, and clearly there was an age difference. And poor Fiona Shaw, she's in this movie in a small role, with an unrequited love,
Hmm.
for this dude who probably doesn't deserve it. But in the end, because she has to return to the ocean, but she's fallen in love, and she doesn't want to go back. And then he disregards her wishes in that and sends her back. So it's a
Hmm.
bummer of an ending,
Yeah, it
probably
is.
more realistic if we're taking sort of this whole thing seriously. But they don't ever really listen, both men, to what she wants.
Mm-mm.
No one pays a mind to her. It's always, oh, it's so
Well,
hard for me to
even
give you up. And then it was like, well, it's hard for her to go back to at this point, but it's only what the men want, sort of. It's
yeah,
never really what she wants.
it's honestly even more than just not listening. They like actively tell her how what she should do and how they were just very possessive.
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah,
I
very
own you.
possessive, yeah.
Like, you're my possession is the way that it felt. And so it was
I
just
mean,
weird.
you can't even equate it to like, I mean, it doesn't even matter that it's a period piece, and it was what, I think it took place in the early 30s, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe
Yeah,
something
that's
in
the
the early,
past.
maybe, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it was the 30s. I could be wrong. Oh, I could be wrong on that. I actually don't think it's the 30s now. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's not even the time period. It just feels very like, do it as I say. Oh, you don't want it too bad, do it like this. And it is, there's no chemistry between them. It's like the actors are fine. I don't even know because there is a lot of mythicism and magic going on here, and I don't even feel that in this movie. It's just like a real bummer, too.
It is. It really is. Yeah, if there was like a little bit of whimsy or a little bit of chemistry, then you'd be fine
Yeah.
with things, but there just really
No,
isn't.
there's
So I
not.
would recommend watching The Secret of Roan Inish instead, or Song of the Sea, which is very sad but but very effective. And so yeah, that would be my recommendation. It's 1909.
Not, oh, well, I was way off. Because I did not rewatch it again for this ranking, so I completely misguided on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
makes
couldn't
actually
remember.
better sense, the time period.
Yeah.
But yeah, not even then.
Hmm.
A beautiful location though. I gotta say, it looked beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
But
yeah, you're very won over by Italy. I mean, Ireland
let
in
me tell you
this.
something. These I people like critique, but I will take these like I call them vacation movies because I ain't ever going there. I'm gonna live vicariously. I'm very
Yeah.
wonderful. The scenery is beautiful. It's an extra point. It's a half a star for me. I work from there.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they lean too much on the
I'm
scenery
fine with
for
it. I was
me.
like, I'm
You're
I'm
fine with it.
vicariously living through that. Like,
Yeah.
oh look, another aerial shot of Venice. I'm fine with it. Let's go.
Yeah. And I thought that the Presence of Love, I thought first I thought that was Ireland, but that's actually set in Wales. So that's not on this list.
No.
But that one's really good. And that one is really beautiful too. So some of them can be
Actually,
right.
I thought that was, you're right. It is what I thought that was somewhere in England. And I mean,
Yeah.
Wales is a part of like Britain, but like I thought it was
Yeah.
England proper. I somehow misremembered that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they have the accent, but I mean, I'm sure people from the UK, our UK listeners are like,
I know.
shaking their heads right
Breaking
now. I'm
forks right now
sorry.
in anger. They're throwing things
Literal
against the
wars were
wall.
fought over these designations, and we're just like, it doesn't
Absolutely
matter.
apologize.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. What do you have at 10?
Well, at 10, I have a movie that you love. It's Christmas Perfection from Lifetime, Christmas movie. I think it's perfectly fine, but it didn't win me completely over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't buy like all the chemistry and all that stuff, but it's a perfectly fine movie. You know, she's
Yeah.
stuck in this Christmas town. She's got to, it's like a Groundhog's Day. You know, she's got to
Mm-hmm.
live it over and over
Yeah.
again. You know,
Yeah.
it works great for holiday movies to be stuck in this town that you think is perfect and then it
Yeah.
becomes a nightmare. Could have been a thriller.
It could have definitely been a thrill. That's the thing with humor is it is like the most subjective of any
Totally.
form of movie. And this movie I just thought was really funny. You'll see I have obviously much higher.
Yeah.
But there were so many. I just really thought that it delivered on the laughs for me,
Yeah.
especially the more she descends into madness.
Madness, making all the
The
sweaters and all that stuff. It's
sweaters.
true.
And when
How
she
long would
yells
you
at
last
the
in this
at the
town?
at the gingerbread girl.
Oh, I know. But how long would you last before you snapped in a town like this? Like you were stuck there.
I have a high tolerance for repetition. So I would last a
Totally.
lot longer than most
I
people.
was like, if I was stuck in some kind of period setting for a while, I was like, I bet you I could last like a full over a year
Yeah,
before I
I
snap.
probably could too.
Maybe longer because I'm a weirdo.
Yeah. But I'll talk a little bit more about why I love it coming up. But for
Yeah.
me, at number 10 is As Luck Would Have It, at number
Mm,
10.
yeah.
This is where we're getting into I think it's boring. I literally kept falling asleep watching this one. I just didn't think the story was interesting. Didn't think they had any chemistry. It's like pretty, but I don't know. Just didn't do it for me. This one.
I have it higher on my list. I think I enjoyed it because I really do like Joanna Garcia Swisher. I think
Yeah.
she's adorable in this movie. And it's kind of not that this is wrong when I say paint by number movies, but you kind of know where everything is going because she's fixing up a place and she's falling in love and she's
Mhm.
trying to win this town over, you know, the locals who work for this you know, hotel that they're
Yeah.
turning into some kind of resort or whatever. But I mean, again, I think I was swayed by the by where they use Ireland really good here. They go to beautiful locations and sometimes I get swept away by that. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I'm a
Yeah.
sucker. I'm easy.
I've seen it in some of your letterbox
Oh,
reviews. I'm
totally.
like,
I'm
okay,
a hundred
really?
percent. Yeah, I agree. A hundred
Yeah,
percent. I sometimes am swayed by scenery. You know, one of the
totally.
things that I always talk about because I love Poldark, but it's like you know, like look at those sweeps, like those majestic
Yeah.
views. I am like it's a good show regardless, but I am easy prey when it comes to that.
Mhm.
So, you
Yeah.
know, you
The,
take my list with a grain of salt, I guess, going on from here, but you know,
the
but
most that I'm like that is particularly the ocean and
oh yeah.
particularly like Hawaii, that kind of like I love the ocean and I'll say this. So I'm the most like swayed by like pretty shots, like that movie about the Maldives that was totally forgettable and things. I was like, oh, look how pretty.
Oh
Like it wasn't
man.
great, but like but I
Same.
guess
I was like, it's
if I'm going to
pretty.
be forgiving, it's more likely for like a tropical movie.
Totally. I get it,
Yeah.
you know, so I am
But
sometimes I'll just forget everything and just be like caught in with it's old scenery porn. It's like
yeah,
scenery porn in
travel,
essence. I'm
travel
caught
for.
in by that. Yeah, you know.
But and also this one was probably hurt a tiny bit by maybe unrealized expectations because
Yeah.
when because I love Reba, I'm a huge fan of that show, so I love Joanna, and I'm a
Right.
big Downton Abbey fan, so I was really excited for these two, and it just was like, oh, they couldn't think of anything else for them to do. This was such a boring plot
True.
for
That's
them.
what hurts. Like what I said, it's a paint by numbers story, but I was
Yeah.
swayed because I liked the actors. I thought they had chemistry enough.
Hmm.
And you know, and I do like her because she comes across as very bubbly in these
Yeah. I
movies.
hope
And I
she
think
does more. Hope you get more
yeah, so I thought it
chances.
was a good fit for her, but you know, you
Yeah.
can't win them all.
Yeah, with them all. Well, what do you have at number 9?
So my number nine is an old-fashioned Christmas.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is a sequel to, I think Hallmark has very few Thanksgiving movies, but I do
Hmm.
love an old-fashioned Thanksgiving, the
Yeah.
OG movie. It's a period piece and it ends like it's just what you would want in that type of family type of movie. And an
Hmm.
old-fashioned Christmas picks up couple of months, or a year or something after that movie ends, of course they recast the main girl, because it was
Mm-hmm.
Tatiana Maslany who played
Mm-hmm.
originally. So at
Yeah,
that
it's
point, she
She-Hulk in Hallmark.
right, no, but at that point she was doing Orphan Black, so she hit it up, so she
Right,
could
right.
return for it. But it's got Jacqueline Bisset in it, and they come back and they're in Ireland, and old love's rekindled, and
Mm-hmm.
people want money, thinking they're rich, and people who are broke and faking the funk, and she's got a triangle going on because she's got a fiance. It's lovely,
Mm-hmm.
for the early days and the period pieces, and that was Hallmark's bread and butter back in the day, a period
Mm-hmm.
piece and a
Yeah, that's
Western.
true. Love Comes Softly and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so
Mail
they
Order
love to do
Bride.
their they did their period pieces and their Westerns. That was their bread
Mm-hmm.
and butter for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there's something charming. It's good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. I've had a couple spots higher, but hot take. I when Thaddeus and we reviewed both old
Yeah.
fashioned Thanksgiving, old fashioned Christmas for the throwback episodes we
Uh-huh.
sometimes do. And we both liked old fashioned Christmas better than old fashioned Thanksgiving. And the reason why is because, at least for me, I just kept in old fashioned Thanksgiving, I just kept getting distracted of like, why isn't this Little Women? And Little Women would be better. Like all
Oh,
of the
yeah.
beats were so similar to Little
Very
Women
much.
that it
Yeah.
was just like, why am I watching this low rent Little Women when I could just watch Little Women? Whereas
Right.
this at least felt like more its own thing. Maybe
I
it's
will
just the
give you
difference.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the different
And
setting.
they're
Yeah.
doing so much more in this movie too. There's more
Hmm.
beats to the story. I
Yeah.
can see where people would be like, this is a better one than that one. I think I just like I don't know, maybe because it is kind of like Little Women. I think I just like the OG better than this one. But to me, they're
Most,
both perfectly fine movies, great family
yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
great holiday films.
Hmm. Well, my number nine, and this is I know we'll have very different on this one. My number nine is Christmas at Castle Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just really did not like the story. I didn't like that they were lying. I didn't like the the behavior of these two sisters, and it made them hard to root for, and I just didn't like the story,
Yeah.
and that affected the chemistry. And of course then there's this liar reveal, and how could you lie to me, and like it's kind of like, yeah, why did you lie to him? Like, I don't know, that's what it came down to for me, is I just didn't like the story.
Yeah. I have it higher. I can't pinpoint exactly why I like it because everything you say is true. But somehow I enjoyed it. And for the longest time, Rachel, I thought it was Scotland. I misremembered Ireland and Scotland. Right now,
Yeah, we
everybody's
had to
clutching their
check.
chests. Yeah, I had to check. I was like, wait, I thought it was
The
Scotland.
list.
Maybe it's because it's a royal movie, and I love royal movies. Of course, this is a lesser royal because he's an
Hmm.
earl.
Right.
Um, but it still counts, and I don't know why it was so dumb. I was like, look at it. I mean,
Because
maybe
lying can be fun, like it can be
you're
like
right, and
Christmas
it's
in
just like.
Connecticut, like, but this lie was so unnecessary. It was
And like
so,
nobody Googles to make sure she's the right person and that she has an
yeah,
actual career to put this very important party. Like this is
yeah.
for an earl. This
And then
Christmas
she
party is
continues
big.
it on beyond when it's reasonable, when nobody would. And that's why like something like Home by Spring is such a failure, because her line
Oh
is
my gosh.
nonsensical. Like in Home by Spring, literally the first thing the client says is, I hate liars, and then she proceeds
Exactly.
to lie. So it becomes like you're not behaving in a way
Yeah.
that, like, at least like in Christmas in Connecticut and movies like that, like the line kind of makes sense, and it usually like starts as this small little fib, and then it kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And in something like this, it's just like nobody would do that. And so it's just kind of like, it just makes you look like kind of a horrible person. Like, why are you doing this? And
Right.
it's just
Again,
makes
I
it
can't
less fun.
pinpoint exactly why I enjoy it so much. And I will say nothing because I do like Lacey Chabert, but maybe she was a little too old to play this type of character,
Mm,
but I do think she's having fun with it.
yeah.
Like when she's like, oh, hiding the fact of oh, it'll be fine. I can fib a little here. Like she's lying to herself that she won't get into as much trouble as she will by lying. And I don't
Hmm.
know, I thought she was having fun with it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
and it
know.
did
It's
have like some good natured like banter
right.
from Paul Campbell, and that was fun.
Oh, right, the
And
cameo,
some
right? Yeah.
yeah, and some nice Ireland in there. But
I do
Yeah, it
love
was
that dress
just,
reveal at the end. I thought that dress was kind of nice
yeah, that was a
at
nice
the end.
dress.
So, and yeah, I don't know. Sometimes like these movies, they just do something and it's not like
Yeah.
memorable or, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got to be the royal catch, probably. It's like, I'm a sucker for a royal movie, lesser or not.
Yeah.
So,
So what do you have next?
oh, so we're at 8, right? This
Yes.
movie put me to sleep, yet I put it at my number 8 because I think the premise is good. It's Love's Portrait.
Hmm.
It just didn't work
It's
for me.
bonkers.
Well, but the thing is, they don't. I do like that it's bonkers, but I don't think they do a good job explaining the reason why. I
Hmm.
mean, this lady is like, I can have a perfectly, my God, her coworker and her best friend,
Yeah.
obsessed with her love life. She does nothing else in her life, apparently. Stays up all night trying to find this lady a man. I mean, it's ridiculous to be that obsessed with somebody's love life. And she's still mourning the loss, because her husband, her partner died, and she's
Yeah.
like, I'm fine by myself, but she's really not. Because even though she says it that much, this movie tells her you're not fine by yourself.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so there's a painting, looks just like her, and she goes to Ireland to find out who painted it and what. And okay, so that's an interesting premise, but it's just this guy who dreamed about her and painted it,
Hmm.
and then he lies to her, and they spend the entire movie going from place to place to try to see which guy mailed it to America.
Hmm.
Boring. It
Yeah,
is
it
so
makes
boring.
this
There's
another
no
one where
chemistry between them either,
yeah, it's
for
another one
me.
where the lie makes no sense.
Makes no sense. No.
Yeah. And so then it's frustrating. I do have it just a hair higher just
Yeah.
because I liked sort of this magical premise of it. And I
I
did
wish
think
they did
both
more
of the
with it.
leads, I
Yeah.
like both of the leads were very likable and I enjoyed them. But yeah, I did not like I
But
wrote in my thing, I said I majorly did not like the conflict. And
no.
yeah, so
And the dude is like, I just dreamed of her. But why did you dream of her? Like, expand on that a little bit. They
mhm,
really didn't expand on that. They're trying to play with it was fate all along. And both of them are sort of, this is like a second love for them, for the both of them. But they don't expand on the fate. I thought for a minute
yeah.
it was going to tie into her husband who passed away. Like maybe he was in Ireland and he talked about her at one point and the guy just drew her. Maybe it was something like that.
Mhm.
But they don't
Or
play with
maybe
any of that mysticism, you
yeah, or
know?
maybe it was just like fate, that he had this
Yeah,
dream and
right.
like
But
it,
I wish they would have just expounded
yeah,
more on the fate element
yeah,
instead of like, I'm in my car 1 minute driving here, I'm in the car driving over there. Nice shots of the road in Ireland, but you're putting me to sleep. And the
yeah.
score
And there's
too
no
was like,
world where you would be like, how dare you not tell me that you had a dream? Like, what? That's not like a betrayal. Like, that's like a natural thing you're not going to want to tell people because people are going to think you're crazy,
right. I get
So,
that, but like after a bit, when she gets to know both him and his sister so well, he could have like, why prolong it?
mhm.
But hear me out, Rachel. Had this been a Lifetime thriller, far more
Yeah,
interesting.
it's
It
right.
could have.
It's right on that line. That's
I
for
mean,
sure.
it would have had a disappointing ending because a lot of those Lifetime thrillers have disappointing endings, but it could have worked for a majority of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have at number 8, Honeymoon for One.
Uh-huh.
And the problem with this one is she is just pretty insufferable in it. It feels like really hard to believe that this dude would fall for her. I mean, she's
Well, he
just
was, her fiance was just like her, in one point in the
mhm,
beginning. So,
right. But
well,
this
but the
other
new
guy
guy,
in
yeah, no, you're right. I
Ireland
forgot about him. Yeah,
that
Greg. I mean, she lucked out. She got Greg Wise. So,
but
kudos to
I
her.
don't know. She just and you can do that sort of diva character and make it endearing like an Elle Woods, or Cher, that kind of a thing. But she didn't quite pull that off. I don't think it's not awful. Like I'd watch it again, if it was on. But that's just sort of my hesitancy on it.
I have it slightly, just a little, like a hair higher, but I do remember enjoying it. And this is early old school Hallmark because her and her fiance at the start of the movie, they lived together.
Yeah.
And that is something that you would never do. You would
Yeah.
ever see again.
And it's so
You
funny
know.
when they go out of their way to be like, here, I'm going into this room at this hotel and you're going into another room, like
And
So
I
thank
kind of
you
do
for
like,
pointing that out.
yeah, I know. And I kind of do like the fact that, she was dumped and she's like, I'm gonna go on this honeymoon anyway. I'm gonna be all right. I kind of like that. I will be
Yeah.
fine. I'm mending my heart. And
Mhm.
of course there's a cute little kid and you got to save some land. And so it's a save something. So there's a
Totally.
lot of things, but I don't know. This one worked for me. It's cute enough and Greg Wise. So there you go.
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
And so what do you have next?
So my number 7 is Forever in My Heart.
Oh.
I like this one enough. I thought it's fine. Again, it's basically a save the something and X is finding love again because we start the movie where they break up and then five or something years down the line, she goes back to Ireland, he's still there, and she's got to like save this hotel or this inn or whatever, and that's part of her job. And of course she runs into her ex-boyfriend and boom, love blooms again. It's a very simple tale, but I thought that both Merritt Patterson and Jack Turner were good. They had nice little chemistry and it's
Yeah, I have this
a
one higher,
serviceable movie, and I mean
not
that in a
only
good way.
because I agree with everything you said, but I really liked the supporting
Oh
cast
yeah, they
in this
had yeah,
one.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, and
A
that
good
so that
cast.
added, it is a played out story, but it was executed, I think, real well. And
Yeah.
the his, I think is it his sister or the other people at the inn, I think were really fun in the town
Yeah.
and the other
Yeah, it's a good
characters.
cast. That everybody has a really good story and it works. It's like when I say serviceable, all parts are moving and it's working. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. Number 7 is where I have Love's Portrait.
Yeah.
So we were pretty close on that. It's weird, and I do like both of the leads, and so it gets some points, but yeah, the conflict wasn't great. What do you have at 6?
This is where I have Honeymoon for One.
Okay, yeah. 6 is where I have An Old-Fashioned Christmas.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the melodrama. We don't tend to go into the realm of soap opera too often at Hallmark, but sometimes I enjoy it when they do it.
It's done right. It's done right,
The triangle done well here, and
yeah,
and the grandma character, and her money and just that. I don't know, all of that is
and
pretty
the
good.
triangle is done well because even though it's a triangle, you know who you're rooting for. You know who you want to win from because it's always like, this guy's no good for you. You're just waiting for that story to unravel and you're invested in it.
Yeah, but he's not like
He's not.
He does have some redeeming factors.
He does.
So
that's why you can't. That's why you root for it a little bit because he does have a bit of a redeeming. He's not a full scoundrel. That's his parents.
Yeah. So what do you have next?
I have Durango.
Okay, yeah, I have that at 4.
Yeah, 5, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is another Hall of Fame. I had never seen this one before. This one missed my radar, and so I watched it and I liked it enough, but it is kind of forgettable. It's kind of like a coming of age story in a sense, like an adventure. I mean, this dude's got to sell these cows, right? And he's going on this, like, we got to go to this other point to get a good deal. And that's kind of the adventure, them traveling with the herd and they meet, there's fires, they meet a deserter. It's about, it's right around the First World War. So there's a war going on too. And they're like, we got to get a good price for this meat. And he's a terrible boyfriend though, and a fiance. But once he successfully sells these cows, he mans up where he's not afraid of his future father-in-law anymore. But when he strings this poor girl around, always afraid to commit, like to tell her father he wants to marry her, it's like, I would have dumped him. But I like it. To me, it does feel like a coming of age story. Maybe it's not necessarily that. You can
Yeah.
really tell it's based on a book though when you're watching it. But Brenda Fricker is always so good. So watch it just for
Yeah.
her.
It kind of reminded me of, sort of felt like Hallmark's version of The Quiet Man a little bit. Just
Oh,
like
a
a little
little,
bit. Yeah,
yes.
with the
Right. Yeah.
community feel and
Absolutely. Yeah.
really likable actors. I thought they had good chemistry, the
Yeah.
town feel. The only problem with this movie is that it feels like it has like 4 different endings, which is hard to do in a
Very
Hallmark
true.
movie.
Very true.
There
That's why
really
to
were
me
all these
it
points
feels
where I was like, oh, it seems like it's over. And then, oh, we got another thing with the cows or another thing going on. So,
it just felt like a book to me, which a lot
yeah.
of early back in the day Hallmark, the Hall of Fame, they were all based on novels or plays,
Hmm.
back in the day. So that's
Right.
not a surprise. But like, I don't
Just
know,
feels
it feels
feels very
very old school
episodic.
too. Yeah, it feels very old
Episodic.
school. Like they don't make certain things like that anymore. And the
Yeah.
scope, there's a lot of scope to it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's some funny moments where they dress up to pretend to be the IRA to get their cows in. I
Oh,
mean, it's
yeah.
ridiculous. There's some ridiculous moments, but
Yeah.
you know,
It's
and
enjoyable. I enjoyed
it's
watching it.
enjoyable. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm
Mhm.
going to remember it 2 days from now, unfortunately, but in the moment, I do think it's
Yeah.
quite an enjoyable watch.
And pretty much all of these are available on Hallmark movies now. So
Yes. Yeah.
all the Hall of Fame ones are.
Yeah.
So I think Old Fashioned Christmas, I think you have to watch that on YouTube, but I think the rest are all available on
I know that Chasing Leprechauns is on Up, Faith and Family.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
My number 5 is where I have the Haunted Harmony Mysteries Murder in G Major.
Hmm.
And this was like pretty good. I liked the dynamic between her and the ghost. That was like fun. I guess I was just a little bit like frustrated because they like show Marco Gazzini on the poster and you think it's going to be about like their dynamic back and forth. He's barely in the movie. Like
Barely.
hardly at
And it's a
all. And I was like,
tease.
is she supposed to be having a relationship with this ghost? But
Is
like
no.
I don't think
Yeah.
so. So it was just kind of confusing.
Yeah. I enjoyed this one. It's a bit higher on my list. That's all a tease because she really has. I really do hope that Hallmark does more of this. I'm almost afraid though that they'll just put it in some Canadian town that she won't be in Ireland anymore, and that takes away
But
some of the magic in it. But they're teasing a potential triangle between her coworker, who's played by Marco Grazzini, and the inspector.
oh yeah, that's true.
Because
And
that's what it's a tease. It's a tease to whet your appetite for more. But basically, if you loved Medium or Ghost Whisperer, you're gonna like this one. It's she's solving crimes with a ghost.
but it's like if
And
they are not in Ireland, how would the ghost come all the way
well,
over?
because the ghost does have sort of a happy ending, and the sort of he comes back going, "Hey, I can introduce you to more people who need."
Oh,
So to need help at the end because they kind of had that. Like, I would love to see this cast continue and him with fellow ghosts helping her, even though he got his happy ending. But he's like, no, I have my happy ending. I'm good, but I can help you meet with these other people that you can talk to and help them out, whether it's
yeah.
a crime or whatever.
That's
It's
right. I
why it's kind
forgot.
of like
It's been a while since I saw this
yeah,
one.
it's got that ghost whisperer feel, that medium feel to it, where they can talk to the dead. I think that's why I
I just
kind of
remember
liked
just
it.
feeling like, why was Marco Gazzini on this poster? Like
It's
he
a
is
tease. It's like,
barely in the movie.
yeah, it's true. I mean, because he like Hallmarkies like him, and he's
Hmm.
great. And
Yeah.
it's sort of a tease, like, watch us, there'll be more. I don't know if there will be more. I hope there is more. I just hope they keep it in Ireland and they don't
Yeah.
like it's not some
Mm-hmm.
Canadian town faking being American because it would lose kind of its appeal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
because
be
they were
careful what
building
you
up
wish
that
for.
inspector. Yeah.
Right, they'd lose the inspector. They might lose Marco
Hmm.
Grazzini, as well in it because they connect because they're two like Americans in Ireland teaching, that she
Hmm.
teaches music. I don't know. It was very whimsical to me. I thought it was funny. She's riding around with a bicycle, talking to herself. Everybody's looking at
Hmm.
her, it's
Yeah.
and I do love Tamara Mary Housley. This is probably one of the best like Hallmark movies she did that I enjoyed the most, for me
Mhm.
speaking. Like I just
Mhm.
thought she was game for it, and
Yeah.
I'm totally buying that triangle if they do any future ones. I'm like, awesome, you got me.
But
You
have
told
more
me.
of him. Don't
Yeah,
just
it's
tease us.
totally a tease because I felt because the inspector isn't even that mean to her. He's like, "Oh yeah, you want to help me?" And I was like, "Oh, here we go. They're wet,
Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
trying to hook you
Mhm.
in for more."
Yeah.
So
Well, what do you have at 4?
this is where I have Christmas at Castle Heart. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
she's lying about being a party planner, and to an earl of all people to lie to,
Yeah.
Rachel. This
And like
isn't
as
just
if
some.
like an American party planner would be so famous that like on that they could get the job on just name recognition alone. Like,
My picture's not out there. Nobody knows what I look like. I'll
yeah.
fake it. Ridiculous, but hey, man, it charms me.
Well, I have Durango at 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cute. What do you have at 3?
I have As Luck Would Have It. I was
Mm,
swayed by Joanna Garcia Swisher and the scenery because they had some lovely. This is probably the best use of location in a movie, I think, because they
yeah.
really went to some lovely places where they were filming in Ireland, and they
Hmm.
really used the most of it. Like that
Yeah.
garden was beautiful and stuff. So I was swayed. I was on vacation.
Well, my number 3 is Forever in My Heart.
Right.
And if we were, and we probably will one of these days do an
I
underrated
think so too.
ranking.
Yeah.
And this would probably make that list because I just think it's very well executed. I think yes, it's a formula film, but I think it's done really well. Nice chemistry. It gives a backstory to the characters. It has
Oh
like
yeah.
motivation for
Totally.
them. So they're not just like meeting for the first time. I like all of the secondary characters were really cute and had their
Yeah.
own stories. And I just think it's a really solid, well executed rom com. I mean, this is one that I might recommend to somebody who had never seen a Hallmark
Oh,
movie
I would
who
too. Yeah.
I feel like it's very well done for what it is.
Yeah. And one of Merritt Patterson's better Hallmark movies
Yeah,
that she's done.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Um, all right. What do you have at 2?
This is where I have the Haunted Harmony Mysteries. Please,
Mm.
Hallmark, give us more. Set in Ireland. Don't, don't, because we got to be careful what we wish for, Rachel.
Yeah.
We want more, but they can definitely not do what we want
Just give me
in the
more
moment.
Marco Gazzini. That's what I want.
Well, I'm team inspector for this one, but okay.
Okay. Uh, okay. Well, I went back and forth
Hmm.
on my 1 and 2 because obviously, like I have one movie that is Emmy nominated, incredibly well made, moving, well done. And then one movie that is not the greatest acting in the world, but it's made me laugh. And it's one that I turn to again and again. And I just think it's really, really funny. So which one do I go with? The one that made me laugh or the one that I think is like the better movie?
Yeah. Well, this is your
I
favorite,
Yeah.
so
So
go
I
with your.
go with
Yeah.
the one that made me laugh is my number 1. My number 2 is the Blackwater Lightship.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's your number 1, right? That's one you have
Yes,
left.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it. And this is an excellent film. The acting is probably the best ever in
Right.
Hallmark
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Diane Wiest,
Bless
Angela
your heart.
Lansbury. You cannot go wrong with
You
that
cannot go
pairing.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So good.
the the story of the their son and brother and family member gets AIDS. He's basically in hospice. He's coming to die, and they are all kind of reconciling with it. You know, obviously, this 2004 is a
Yeah. So
different time um, than what would happen now 20 years later for most families that I know, at least. And but it's very like honest and true with good performances. I think this is based on a novel or a play. You can feel that. And Diane Wiest, she is such a good actress. And she's really good in this, taking a pretty unlikable character
Totally. And running with it.
and bringing some
Yeah.
humanity into her.
Like this was pretty high up on my Hall of Fame ranking too.
Mhm.
But I love the story because it is intergenerational, sort of the mistakes of family between Diane Wiest and Angela Lansbury, their mother-daughter relationship. And then Diane Wiest with her daughter, who's played by the great Gina McKee. I love Gina McKee. And their relationship and how it's fragmented. But the part that gets me is when they're picking, it's towards the end of the movie when Diane Wiest is finally at Gina McKee's house. She doesn't really know her grandsons because they're estranged. And they just start crying and like they hold hands. That gets me every time. It's like they finally put a piece to it. It's terrible to say, but their brother's illness, their brother's upcoming death has healed the family in a way. And it all started with her father's death that sort of fractured the family
Mm-hmm.
and how they dealt with that. And it's sort of a full circus moment, but this will like break your heart at so many levels. And it's just, they're not afraid to shy away with it. Unlikable characters, unlikable hard situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they would approach it the same way today. I kind of feel like they would sugarcoat it in a sense, where these people aren't really that bad. And you're not really that angry. And there was some real abandonment issues
Mm-hmm.
that these kids felt with their parents and their mom, like when their dad died. And these
Yeah.
are three great ladies. I mean, it's a wonderful story. I would recommend this out of them. This was one of the better. I mean, there's plenty of really great Hall of Fame movies, but this is one of the better ones. It'll really get you.
Yeah. It's I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, should I give it that much credit? Because there were a lot of movies made around this time that were
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like AIDS trauma kind of working through, and we needed it. And I'm
Oh,
not
we
saying
needed at that time too.
it's not, but it's just like I think it sort of maybe feels more special than it maybe even did then. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like there were
Yeah.
quite a few of these kinds of movies at that time.
A lot done by Hallmark as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hallmark was really taking the forefront in like these, and in 2004 we should have known a little bit better too than when it first, but like even if you look back like to the late 80s, throughout the 90s, Hallmark was doing a lot of it, like really putting it out there and educating people too on AIDS and all that stuff. As what some of these, you can be educating and entertaining and thoughtful all at the same time with these type of movies if done well, without being too preachy or whatever. And I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I remember seeing it in 2004 and being going, this is amazing. I mean, these three women, it's like you can't top it. These like three legendary performances like in there, and
Mm-hmm.
it just worked.
Yeah.
It
It
wasn't
was
too
really good.
schmaltzy. It
A
wasn't,
very
anything that.
it was a very well written, well done uh movie. And
This is what a Hall of Fame movie is, what
mhm.
it's known for. These type of performances, this type of production and storytelling. The most famous, Hall of Fames are
Yeah.
this type of level.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Like I was really torn because I'm just like, how can I give Christmas Perfection over this movie? But it's just such different experiences that it's really hard to compare.
Oh yeah. You're having fun with one.
Yeah. One's a
you're having
comedy
fun,
and that's why comedies hardly ever make it on the Oscars, because just it's hard to like put something that makes you laugh on the same level, even though it's harder in many cases to make you laugh than it is to make you cry.
Right.
It's just like a natural kind of a thing of like, well, that has more gravitas, it made me cry. It's just, there's just like a natural human reaction to do that. And like some of the acting in Christmas Perfection is not the best. I'm not even gonna, obviously it's not on the level of these three,
But that's
Oscar.
fine, Rachel. That's
Diane
fine.
Wiest is 2-time Oscar winner. I mean, it's not the same conversation, but let me try to defend why I love Christmas Perfection. I think that it really does deliver on the laughs. I think it is extremely funny. Especially the more like out of control and mad that she gets as things escalate. Like they're at the beginning, they're very careful to show sort of this like routine that she's going to be going through every single day, right? So that at the beginning, and how like, oh, she's so charmed by it and everything, and then like each step along that way becomes more and more unhinged, and or her yelling at the gingerbread girl, or like trying to take control of the horses and things, and then when she flips out over her sweater and she makes it like black with like gold, and I love that. I just think it's really funny, and I love the fact that she can't swear in the Irish Christmas village, that everybody's, you stocking stuffer. But the thing that makes the movie, I think, even beyond just, I think, very funny, is that I do think it has something subtly to say, because she thinks that not only does she want the perfect Christmas, she wants her friends and her family to behave in the way that she wants them to behave. She gets very frustrated by them. She's young and appropriately cast as a young woman. And so she gets very frustrated with her boss, with her best friend, with her the person who's the obvious kind of love interest, who's she's friend zoned, and then with her parents. So when she goes to the Christmas village, she makes a wish. This lady sees is kind of big, like in big. She makes the wish. And in the Christmas village, not only does she get to experience the perfect Christmas, but everybody in her life is behaving the way that she wants them to behave, that she thinks they should behave. Her parents are getting along. They're still together. Her friend isn't kind of being loud and difficult. And the boss, who she has a crush on, is all of a sudden like very attentive to her and showing her around, all of this stuff. And it's very interesting to me that the one person in the Christmas village that isn't doing that is the friend zone guy, is the love interest guy. He's the only one, because obviously he doesn't actually like, she really does love him just the way he is in all times, but she doesn't realize it yet. So he doesn't change in the Christmas village. No. And of course he sees her and he's like, this isn't real, like this isn't. And I just like her journey as a character, that she comes to realize that she actually loves the people in her life with all of their flaws, and especially her parents, who hate each other and are so awful to each other. But like she comes to realize that she would rather have that than this kind of phony, version of them that she's getting, that she thinks is so great at first. And so I do think there's like some heart to the story amongst all of the silliness and amongst all the laughs.
It is a perfect example of be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, absolutely.
In essence. Yeah, it really is, mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones that was an acquisition that didn't get any attention from Lifetime, and it doesn't have any big stars or anything like that, so it just kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, this was back when they were airing it like every day in November and December, right? Mm-hmm. I think.
Did they air it that much in 2018?
Well, because they did it. I don't know. Did they do it 2 years in a row?
Because I felt like I found it, and I was like the only person that year. I mentioned it. I felt like I mentioned it on every single episode of the podcast, because I was like, "This is so good! Please watch it."
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but they started to, or they spent like every movie like every day in November they aired it. You know, they did that one year too.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think that when you have those movies, you have so many movies
that
like
was
that.
2020 that they had a movie every day.
Right. But I feel like when they started to get more and more movies, they kind of lost how to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hallmark does the same thing too. Like they have a bunch of movies that they talk about, and then you have movies that air that like this aired. I don't remember it that are sometimes really good, but don't
Mm-hmm.
get the same sort of level of press. They get
Yeah.
lost in the shuffle. That's what
So
happens when
it
you air
became
40
my
plus movies.
my mission to tell everyone about this movie, and I had the two leads. I had the two leads, James Henry Thomas and Rob Silverman, on the podcast for an interview, and that was really fun. And it was interesting because we talked about it in our bonus episode, me and Michelle, or it might have been Amy back then, but we talked about it on the bonus episode. But then a couple of weeks later, there was a week where all the Hallmark movies were lame.
Right.
And
That happens.
it happens. I really, really hate it when it happens because I just try to be like at least a little positive. And so, but it's, it sometimes does happen. And I try to, usually if that happens, I try to have somebody on the pod as my co-host who I know is like really forgiving and really like sweet, or like Caroline or someone like that. And so that's usually what I try to do. Well, I had Casey on that week, who I never had on before. And so I was just kind of like, what are we going to do? And this was one of her first, or I think she may be done When Calls the Heart. We hadn't had her on much.
Yeah.
And because back in 2018, I didn't have that many guests. It was kind of a new thing because Amber became just more and more busy. And so I had to sort of diversify out. And then it was the next year, 2019, that like the co-host became a more like established thing. Anyway, back sidetrack about the podcast, but because it was originally just me and Amber. And then once she became really busy in 2018, then all of a sudden I started bringing on more guests. And so this was Casey's first time. And I was like, great, I'm going to have first time guest and all movies I didn't like. What am I going to do? And so I talked to Casey and I was like, Casey, do you like Christmas Perfection? And she watched it and she was like, that was so good. I loved it. And so then we literally spent probably half the episode talking about Christmas Perfection.
There are certain movies that maybe you love more than other people. Like we all have those that just you need to gush over them.
Right.
Because people aren't going to know what they are.
Yeah.
And because this is an acquisition and they do this at Hallmark as well and Lifetime, I'm searching right now to see what its proper name is because they always change the names of acquisition movies.
Oh, that's true. I think it was called Irish Christmas Village or something like that. Or
I have that and The Perfect Christmas Village.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
There's probably 3 or 4 names attached to this movie. So people are like, I have seen that movie, just in a different name. It happens all the time. And sometimes when Lifetime puts these movies up on their streaming service, it gets a new title. It's very confusing if you're trying to search for something.
Yeah. Well,
so you
remember,
have to be careful about that.
One of our patrons, Steve Hahn, he was finally like, okay, we get it. You like
like stop
you
it.
like Christmas Perfection. Like I think I had mentioned it just so much that season because I was so excited about it. And it's just fun when you find something that really makes you laugh. That doesn't happen every day.
Totally.
It really doesn't.
It's fine at number one. It's your list. It's what you get. Because sometimes a great movie, well produced, well acted, gets a whole bunch of awards you just don't feel.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's fine, but I prefer this. And it's a silly movie.
And I totally admire, and it was a question of between what to do. It's The Blackwater. It's a great movie. I really liked it, but I just have a special place. I just have a special place for Christmas Perfection, not only because I think it's so funny and it has heart, but because it was so iconic in the podcast as well.
Right.
So
it's a special place.
Yeah.
It's in the Hallmarkies Hall of Fame.
Yes, it is. It's true. So there we go. But I asked our patrons what they thought, and Amber Sayer says, I haven't seen all of these, but I love Christmas Perfection. See, I've trained patrons well. I laugh every time I watch it. I wasn't a big fan of Christmas at Castle Heart. I love some Lacey movies like The Christmas Waltz and the first All of My Heart, and hate
those are
others
better. Yeah.
like Safari Romance. And this was somewhere near the bottom. I do agree for me. But
I even like Safari Romance. Maybe it's just Lacey.
people
me.
love giving Lacey.
I tend to be more forgiving on Lacey films. That is true.
Yeah. She had a stretch there, especially that Secret Valentine, which we talked about.
Oh, I know. That was hard.
Yeah, that one was tough. Okay, so then Steve Hahn, he says, "Seen Christmas Perfection as luck would have it, loves Portrait, and Christmas at Castle Heart. I think I liked Christmas Perfection, but was kind of meh on the others." And then he asked, "Are Italy and Greece coming up next? Maybe General Mediterranean." What do you think, Harry?
Definitely, there's probably 45 Italian movies. Just Hallmark alone. We're not even talking about last year on Netflix. It was the year of Italy, on Netflix everywhere.
It's true. Even in features, it was the year of Italy. There was The Haunting in Venice.
I was okay with it. I remember you saying, you tweeted, "Enough with Venice," and I was like, "Never, Rachel, never." I haven't watched this movie.
Well, and Mission Impossible and the Fast and Furious movie.
It was even a Lifetime movie, like Murder in Venice or something that I watched. I was like, yay, you know.
And there was that Romance in Venice on Hallmark.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm for it. I'm for it. Definitely, you're right. Greece does play a big part, and I'm not sure. Yeah. A lot of these people, the Maldives are popping up a lot on Hallmark.
There's a bunch in Fiji, too.
Right.
Movies in Fiji. Yeah, so we're working on that, Steve.
That would be a 7-hour podcast just for movies in Italy alone. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Becky Schubner says, "Christmas Perfection is so good. Love that one dearly." So again, I've trained our patrons well. Yes. They know. But let us know what you think of these movies, how you would rank them. Like I said, we'll have the playlist, we'll have the short list with all of them. Or just have the list, not short. We'll have the list down below. And if you want to give your rankings, we'd love to hear it. And that would be a ton of fun. And so please let us know and join the Patreon. Be part of the discussion. We'd be so grateful. And I think you'd find it well worth your time. And we're going to have Alex Trumbull on this month for our watch along. I think it's going to be The Wedding Wish. But it's going to be a good, really fun to have him on. He's delightful. So that's some of the benefits that you can get from being a patron. And Terry, where can people find you?
I'm at Twitter at Flurry Heaven.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really, really appreciate that, especially now because there was this iPhone update and just kind of messed up all podcasts. So if you could do that, we sure would be grateful. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And we have our Patreon group, as we mentioned, and we have the merch store. We can get all kinds of fun Hallmark inspired merch. So check that out. And again, we hope you all have a very, very, very happy St. Patrick's Day. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.